Imagine a quiet river flowing under the night sky. The water moves slowly, without effort, reflecting the moon in long silver patterns. The air is cool and still. Tall grass lines the riverbank, and the world feels distant, softened by darkness. Nearby, a simple wooden hut rests beside the water. A single lamp glows faintly inside. On a low table near the river, there is a small cup. The traveler arrived at the river late in the evening, long after the noise of the day had faded. Their steps were slow, uneven, not from exhaustion of the body, but from the constant weight of thought. Their mind was busy, replaying conversations, imagining futures, correcting past moments that could never be changed. Even as they walked, their attention never fully arrived. The river flowed quietly beside them, but they did not notice its sound at first. The moon reflected clearly on the water, but their eyes passed over it without pause. When they reached the small wooden table, the cup caught their attention. It was simple, plain, unremarkable, and yet something about it caused the traveler to stop. They lifted the cup gently. It was full, filled right to the edge with clear water, so still it barely rippled. Carefully, the traveler tilted it, expecting at least a single drop to spill. Nothing did. Imagine a quiet river flowing under the night sky. The water moves slowly, without effort, reflecting the moon in long silver patterns. The air is cool and still. Tall grass lines the riverbank, and the world feels distant, softened by darkness. Nearby, a simple wooden hut rests beside the water. A single lamp glows faintly inside. On a low table near the river, there is a small cup. The traveler arrived at the river late in the evening, long after the noise of the day had faded. Their steps were slow, uneven, not from exhaustion of the body, but from the constant weight of thought. Their mind was busy, replaying conversations, imagining futures, correcting past moments that could never be changed. Even as they walked, their attention never fully arrived. The river flowed quietly beside them, but they did not notice its sound at first. The moon reflected clearly on the water, but their eyes passed over it without pause. When they reached the small wooden table, the cup caught their attention. It was simple, plain, unremarkable, and yet something about it caused the traveler to stop. They lifted the cup gently. It was full, filled right to the edge with clear water, so still it barely rippled. Carefully, the traveler tilted it, expecting at least a single drop to spill. Nothing did. The water remained perfectly level, as if the cup refused to overflow. The traveler straightened it again, confused. They tried once more, tilting it further this time, holding their breath. Still nothing. No spill, no movement, no reaction. The cup remained full, yet unchanged. The traveler felt something unfamiliar, not frustration, but a quiet curiosity. They sat down near the river, the cup resting in their hands, moonlight touching the surface of the water inside. For the first time that evening, their thoughts paused, not completely, just enough. The river continued its steady flow. The night remained calm, and the cup stayed exactly as it was, full, yet never overflowing. The traveler did not yet understand what this meant, but they stayed. The travelers sat beside the river, the cup resting lightly in their hands. At first, their grip was firm, as if the cup required control. Slowly, without decision, their fingers loosened. The cup remained steady. The water inside reflected the moon, clear and still, so full it reached the edge, yet never crossed it. With each breath, a faint movement appeared on the surface, a shimmer, a ripple. It reminded the traveler of thought, how one thought appears, touches the surface of awareness, then spreads outward, growing softer as it moves. The traveler noticed how the ripples never argued with the water. They did not resist, they did not stay. They came and they went. The river beside them moved the same way, always flowing, yet never rushing, always changing, yet never disturbed. The traveler remained still, holding the cup, listening without effort. For a moment, thinking slowed, not stopped, just softened. As the night deepened, the traveler became aware of a familiar sensation, the heaviness of the mind. Not painful, just crowded. Ideas pressing against ideas, memories stacked upon memories, questions with no place to rest. The cup felt heavier now, not because it had changed, but because the traveler was noticing it fully. Full, complete, with no space left to receive more. The traveler tilted the cup again, just slightly. Still, no water spilled. The surface remained calm, unbroken. It was then the traveler realized the cup was not resisting overflow. It simply had nowhere else to go. The water inside did not push outward. It did not demand release. It stayed. The traveler's breathing slowed, shoulders softened, jaw relaxed. The body understood something before the mind did. Perhaps fullness was not the problem. Perhaps the effort to add more was. The river continued to flow, unconcerned. The moon held its place in the sky, and the traveler sat quietly, allowing the weight of the full cup to rest without judgment. The traveler placed the cup gently on the ground beside the river. Nothing changed. The cup remained full. The water remained still. Yet something in the traveler eased. Hands rested on the earth now, cool and steady beneath the palms. The ground did not ask for explanation. It did not require improvement. It simply supported. The traveler noticed how the mind began to slow once it was no longer holding the cup. Thoughts still appeared, but they came with more space between them, like footsteps growing farther apart. The river's sound grew clearer, not louder, just easier to hear. Moonlight stretched across the water, unbroken, undisturbed. The cup stayed where it was, doing nothing, needing nothing. And for the first time, The traveler understood something quietly. The cup did not need to empty to bring peace. It only needed to be set down. The night deepened, breath slowed, and the traveler remained, resting beside the river, no longer trying to manage what was already full. The traveler remained seated by the river, hands resting on the cool ground. The cup stayed beside them, untouched, full. There was no urge to lift it again, no impulse to test it, no need to understand it. The mind, so used to adding, paused in uncertainty. What happens when nothing new is introduced? The traveler noticed how the silence did not feel empty. It felt wide. The river flowed without comment. The moon continued its quiet watch. The night held everything evenly. A thought appeared, then another, but they did not stack. They did not press. Each one arrived, hovered briefly, then faded, like leaves drifting across water without leaving a mark. The traveler breathed in, slow and unforced, breathed out, longer than before. The body responded by softening further. Muscles released their last quiet tension. The cup remained full, yet the traveler felt lighter.
Time moved differently now. Not slower, not faster, just unnoticed. The traveler could no longer say how long they had been sitting there. Minutes or hours no longer mattered. The mind had stopped counting. The cup caught the moonlight again, its surface smooth, reflective, still. The traveler saw how the water accepted the moon without holding on to it. When clouds passed overhead, the reflection changed. When they moved on, the moon returned. The water never resisted either. The traveler felt something settle, a quiet understanding, not formed of words. Thoughts do not need to be removed, they only need space. The river demonstrated this endlessly, always moving, never crowded. The traveler's breathing deepened. The pause between breaths grew comfortable, natural. The cup stayed as it was, and the traveler rested inside the space that had always been there.
The traveler leaned back slightly, supported by the earth. The body felt heavy, but safe, grounded, held. The cup sat nearby, no longer a focus, no longer a question. It was simply present. Thoughts had grown faint now. When one appeared, it arrived without urgency. No story followed, no reaction chased it. It drifted away on its own. The river's sound softened, or perhaps the traveler was drifting inward. The difference no longer mattered. The night felt close, like a blanket laid gently over everything. The traveler's eyes grew heavy, though they had already been closed for some time. Awareness remained, but it was dimmer, less defined. The cup did not overflow. The mind did not either. Everything rested exactly where it was, and sleep began to gather, quietly, naturally, without invitation. The traveler's body sank deeper into the earth, as though the soil itself welcomed them, holding every curve and weight without effort or judgment. The cup remained full. The water inside remained motionless, yet it no longer mattered. Awareness softened. The river was there, but distant, like a sound remembered rather than heard. The moon hung silently in the sky, its reflection in the water, calm and unbroken. Even the pause between breaths felt like a small eternity, a moment too gentle to name. The mind no longer sought meaning. It no longer tried to solve, predict, or control. Everything simply was. The traveler rested inside that everything, held fully by the quiet, the river, the night, and the cup that could not overflow.
The traveler no longer noticed the edges of the body. Hands, arms, shoulders, legs. They had become soft extensions of the earth beneath. The cup sat near them, unchanged, yet no longer a focus. Thoughts drifted briefly and faded like mist over water. There was no story, no expectation, no tension. Breath became the quiet current, carrying everything deeper into stillness. The night itself seemed to breathe with the traveler, slow, calm, steady. Time lost meaning, space lost sharpness. There was only this, the full cup, the flowing river, the moonlight, and the traveler resting completely, without need, without effort. Sleep gathered naturally, not forced, not hurried, simply arriving like a tide that always returns.
The traveler no longer followed thoughts. They came, briefly, like leaves drifting across the river, and disappeared. There was no grasping, no judgment, no need to hold anything. The cup remained full, its surface smooth and unbroken, and yet it no longer mattered. The river's flow became part of the traveler's own rhythm, a gentle pulse that carried everything without effort or concern. Breath deepened naturally, long, steady, and even. Muscles softened. The body settled further into the earth, its weight fully supported. The mind, once crowded, now opened into space, wide, quiet, and soft. Time faded. Minutes, hours, none mattered anymore. There was only this, the river, the moon, the cup, and the traveler drifting into stillness. Awareness softened even further, less defined than before, like fog dissolving in the night. The traveler felt the night hold them completely, without expectation, without interruption. Thoughts, if they appeared, were faint, distant echoes, insignificant, fleeting. The river moved quietly beside them, never urgent, never loud. The moonlight continued to rest on the water, reflecting perfectly, without demand. The cup remained full, but the traveler no longer focused on it. Its presence was gentle, steady, unchanging. The body grew heavier, yet lightweight. Limbs relaxed fully, The spine softened. Even the head rested completely, held by the earth. Breathing slowed further, natural and unforced. Every exhale carried tension away. Every inhale brought only calm. The traveler drifted, not thinking, not planning, not striving. Only rest remained. The traveler no longer felt separate from the garden, the river, or the night itself. Everything merged into a single field of calm. Breath, body, mind, awareness, all flowed together like the river into the moonlight. There was no need to control, no need to understand, no need to resist. Sleep arrived quietly, without announcement, without effort. The cup remained full, the river flowed endlessly, and the moon watched silently. The traveler surrendered fully, letting the night carry them into deep, peaceful rest. Thoughts softened into silence. Awareness widened into stillness. The body, mind, and soul were held completely by the quiet of the world. No longer was there any distinction between effort and rest, between holding and releasing. The cup remained full, the river continued its flow, and the moon moved silently across the sky. The traveler no longer reached, no longer sought, no longer worried. Every breath carried the body deeper. Every heartbeat resonated with calm. Thoughts arose, brief as the ripple on the water's surface, then faded. There was no struggle, no desire, no need to remember or understand. Just presence, soft, quiet, complete. The traveler felt the edges of the self dissolve, melding with the night, with the river, with the calm that existed before thought existed. And sleep, gentle and natural, flowed closer with every breath. The traveler rested fully. The cup, the river, the moon, all became one gentle field of calm. Awareness softened into nothing, yet remained. Thoughts disappeared. Time disappeared. The body rested, completely supported by the earth. The night held the traveler without effort, without expectation, without asking anything in return. Breath and heartbeat carried them into the deepest quiet, a space where mind and body merged with stillness itself. The river, the moon, the cup, they all existed without needing attention. The traveler no longer existed as someone separate. They were simply presence, held by the night, immersed in calm, flowing naturally with sleep. Every muscle, every thought, every breath was held, complete, perfectly, and sleep settled, like a tide that had always been there, carrying everything gently into the peace of the night.
Now, as you listen, allow your own breath to slow. Let your thoughts settle like ripples fading from the water, and let your body rest completely. Good night.
From all of us at Sleepy Zen Story, may your sleep be deep, calm, and uninterrupted, and may your mind drift gently into quiet.